Taking a live look via Earth Cam here of Puerto Rico, where you can see it is very, very rainy and a lot of people following the instructions, heeding the warnings there and staying away from the beach. Looks like nobody in that live image, again, coming in out of Puerto Rico there via Earth Cam. We, of course, are talking all about Hurricane Erin, not only the first hurricane of the Atlantic season, but also the first major hurricane. Just yesterday, we saw it reach that Category 5 status, and I do want to bring in meteorologist Michael Estime over at Fox Weather to talk more about the current track and what to expect next. Good morning, Michael.
Josh, listen, my friend, always great to see you. Wish we could talk on terms that weren't so, dangerous, but let me jump into it, Josh, because you nailed it right off the top. This is not just our first hurricane of the Atlantic hurricane season, but it is the first major hurricane. That's a Category 3 hurricane or stronger. And Josh, just to put it into perspective for you, we went from what was a little kitten to a big ferocious tiger in literally 24 hours. I'm going to show you that in just a second. Let me give you a quick little update. As of 10:30, we are expecting another update from the National Hurricane Center in about 30 minutes. So you want to make sure that you stick with us here, not just on Fox Live, but also on Fox Weather. Current advisory as of 8 o'clock this morning, winds at 125 miles per hour. That a bona fide Category 3 hurricane. And as you mentioned when we showed you that camera off the top, listen, Puerto Rico is getting super soaked with rain. Here's what it looked like. This was yesterday at about 11 o'clock in the morning, 75-mile-per-hour winds, and we ramped those winds up by nearly 90 to 95 miles per hour in just 24 hours. We literally call that, quote, rapid intensification. That, though, is when you see winds increase by 35 miles per hour in 24 hours. This was 90 plus miles per hour in 24 hours. So almost a super rapid intensification is what we're calling it. Josh, here's what things look like right now. Here's the island of Puerto Rico, as you know, has just over 3 million folks there. Here's parts of the northern Lesser Antilles. We have, of course, the British Virgin Islands and U.S. Virgin Islands. Let me do a deep dive into Puerto Rico real quick because we have a lot of friends and family down this way. Here's where the capital of San Juan, Puerto Rico is, just for perspective. Here's where Ponce is on the southern end of the island. And look at that band, that spiral band of very heavy rain. It is prompting considerable, you don't see this very often, considerable flash flood warnings for the island of Puerto Rico. This is south of San Juan, so south of the capital city, where it has been raining cats and dogs. Unfortunately, in Puerto Rico, if you've not been to Puerto Rico, number one, beautiful, beautiful island to go to. However, there's a lot of mountains. And those mountains, when you start to see just a ton of rain, can lead to landslides, rock slides, and mudslides. We haven't heard of any reports of that just yet, but that is in the cards. We then jump over to St. Thomas. I know that many of you have perhaps taken a wonderful cruise to St. Thomas. Some of the U.S. Virgin Islands, the British Virgin Islands, great places to go to. Not now, though. Here's where St. Thomas is. This is where the airport is. And again, flights in and out of the airport certainly going to be canceled or delayed at least through today, just given the amount of rain and wind that they're seeing, not just there, but also on St. John Island as well. Bigger picture looks like this. Here's where the Dominican Republic is at. A lot of folks vacation to the eastern end of the island. We call it Punta Cana, beautiful resort destination. Unfortunately, they are also fighting through the rain, showers, and storms. The good news, though, in Punta Cana, in the Dominican Republic, is the fact that that rain is going to be a lot less intense. The rain, or the wind rather, also less intense. So that's the good news there. We'll set things into motion for you through not just the day today, but into tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. And look at Puerto Rico, look at St. Thomas, St. Croix, right? U.S. and British Virgin Islands still undergoing more rain. So that rain's going to be with us for for at least the next, say, 24 to 36 hours. Next question, how much rain are we talking, right? Well, you'll note that our forecast models on the southern end of the island, not just of the Dominican Republic and Haiti, but also throughout Puerto Rico, that's at least on the low end another 3 to as much as 8 inches of rain. Isolated spots could pick up even more than that. Some spots, by the way, have already seen over 9 inches of rain with perhaps a little bit more on the way. Rain, flooding is going to be an issue. Let's talk about the winds real quick. Currently, Category 3 hurricane, as we mentioned before, one of our buoys right now in the middle of the Atlantic, registering wind gusts over 45 miles per hour. But the winds are going to push all that water right up along the beaches, especially on the southern tips of the island. So here's where we are in Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Here we are in Puerto Rico. The southern base of the island where that wind is getting really just pushed up against, that's going to be where we see the worst rip currents. Those could be life-threatening, that undertow that literally can drag you out to sea. That's going to be a big issue through the day today and tomorrow. And I want to point this out, Josh, just for a quick second, is the fact that we're actually expecting for Erin to strengthen. It is once again moving into an area where the water's really nice and warm. It's juicy, if you will. The atmosphere has a lot of moisture to work with and play with. So we're actually expecting it to strengthen. The good news is, out of all of this, and feel free to say hallelujah if you want, is the fact that this is going to miss any direct land impacts. Let me repeat that. We are not expecting and not forecasting a landfalling hurricane. Hallelujah. Because this could have been absolutely catastrophic, if not devastating, if that were the case. We're expecting this to be well off the eastern seaboard of the United States, so friends and family in Florida, if you're joining us from the Space Coast, Kennedy Space Center area, up toward the first coast, toward Jacksonville Beach, this is not going to be a huge impact for you. Secondary impacts, yeah, you'll see the big surf, the big waves, right? Maybe a couple of showers and a few more, a couple of thunderstorms, but nothing that's going to be crazy or that's going to slow down your midweek. That happens by Wednesday. And then note that we're expecting Bermuda. This is not expected to make a direct impact on Bermuda either. So any cruise plans that you might have out that way, again, good news is this should stay at bay. Now, the wind field is going to expand as this moves into cooler water. It's interesting. You think about like a ballerina spinning around in a circle, right? When the ballerina brings her arms together like this, she spins really quickly, but then as she opens up her arms, right, she slows down. That's what's going to happen with this hurricane. It's going to slow down, but its wind field is going to expand by, what, 600 miles or so. What that means is for friends and family along the Virginia Beach area toward the Cape, this is Cape Hatteras, in the Carolinas, Wilmington, it means that you're going to be fighting through some pretty significant winds by the time we get to Wednesday and then into Thursday. We're talking winds over 40 to 50 miles per hour. So yeah, if you were thinking about making it a beach day, not with 50-mile-per-hour winds. You're going to get a free microderm abrasion is what you'll get if you're laying on the beach with all that sand blowing in your face by Wednesday, Thursday in parts of the Carolinas, that's for sure. Wave heights, this could be significant too. Big old waves, not just through parts of the Bahamas. Here's where the Bahamas are by tomorrow. But as we head toward Cape Hatteras, now if there's one little bit of good news, I did hear, and some of our viewers have shared with us, that in Virginia Beach, there is a big surfing competition that's taking place. So surfers are probably going to enjoy that. But listen, if you're not a surfer, stay out of the water. Because when we're talking about wave heights between 6 to 9, perhaps even upwards of 12 feet, that can be absolutely dangerous, if not life-threatening. I don't want you taking the kids to the beach this weekend, that's for sure. Stick with the pool. So again, a little recap on what Thursday should begin to look like in terms of our waves. And then, Josh, I'm going to leave you with this, because the other thing that I don't want us to forget is the fact that we're in the middle of hurricane season. The height of hurricane season is just 24 days away on September the 10th. And this is what I'm actually almost more concerned about, is the fact that we have a disturbance. You can see it right here, cluster of showers and thunderstorms. It's expected in the next couple of days to move into this region, gain strength, gain momentum, and gain more energy. This is the system where some of our forecast models are suggesting that we could see it, and it's going to be highlighted right here. We could see this system develop into a little something. I won't call it a tropical storm or hurricane just yet, but it could develop into one. And then perhaps our long-term forecast models are suggesting that it could move into and across the Lesser Antilles into what we call the Caribbean Sea. So south of Puerto Rico, south of Haiti and the Dominican Republic, perhaps move into Cuba, and then into the Gulf of America. That is what we're keeping our eyes on in the next week. So you'll want to make sure that you hone in with us on Fox Weather for that, because that, to me, Josh, could be actually more significant, more dangerous to the United States mainland than what we're seeing with Hurricane Erin. Josh, my last graphic, I'll leave you with this, is the fact that we still have 84% of hurricane season just yet. I know we got a big bad storm out there right now, but we are nowhere even close to being done with hurricane season. So friends in Florida, along the Georgia coastline, Carolina coastline, if you've not gotten your hurricane preparedness kits ready and set, this is an absolute must do in, say, the next the weekish or so, just to be safe and free from harm. Josh, it's something that we're going to be watching very carefully, you know, but again, just to kind of wrap things up, thank goodness Erin is not expected to make a direct landfall on any piece of land.
Yeah, Michael, we're definitely grateful for that. I know they're seeing the impacts, as you mentioned, around the Caribbean, Puerto Rico, they're seeing it, but good news that it's not going to make that direct impact. However, we're going to pay attention to that system that you were just pointing out, because we are getting to the height of hurricane season. And a lot of people have said, well, it's been fairly calm, but overall, I mean, we expect to see storms kind of blow up during this time, not necessarily earlier.
Yeah, and you know, Josh, I'll point it out right here. You know, hurricane season actually started on June the 1st. That was this point here on the map. And what you're looking at is when we start to see that increase in tropical activity. Yeah, this is where we are right now. Here's where we started. You don't see a whole lot. Things right now, though, mid-August, this is when we start to see the big giant spike. And Josh, to your point, here's the actual point right here, September the 10th, September the 11th. That's the climatological peak of hurricane season. We're still 24 days away from that. So we're expecting storms to ramp up. This is a normal cycle that we see every year. What's just a little, I would say, odd or which is a little odd, is the fact that we saw a storm, you know, Erin, rapidly intensify, twice what we typically define as rapid intensification, at this point. So I think this could set the stage, unfortunately, for what could be a really hyperactive hurricane season.
That is not what anyone wants to hear. Michael Estime, thank you so much. Meteorologist there with Fox Weather. And of course, we're going to stay in touch here as we track that other system alongside our friends there at Fox Weather. I'm also going to steal every analogy that you used during that forecast. So thank you for that. Have a good rest of your day.
Absolutely, Josh. Yeah, you too. We'll see you soon.
All right, and I do want to pop this up on your screen once again, that live look that we do have over Puerto Rico. You can see the camera shaking all over the place, and those trees there in the distance. Also rain almost covering the camera. We saw yesterday you could barely see anything from that camera as it does continue to move around. We will continue to track Hurricane Erin as it does slam the Caribbean. Now, again, as Michael mentioned, we expect another update to come in around the 11 o'clock hour. We'll keep you posted right here on Live Now from Fox. And don't forget, you can stream Fox Weather everywhere that you stream Live Now from Fox. It's always on, always free at foxweather.tv. And don't forget to download the Fox Weather app. Head to the App Store, Google Play Store, and hit that download button.